Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Now for today's video, we've got some really big news. Apparently, not only is Lewis Dodgson returning to the JP franchise with Jurassic World Dominion, but he's also moved up the company ladder and is now serving as the CEO of none other than BioSyn, InGen's rival genetics company that bribed Dennis Nedry to steal dinosaur embryos in the first movie. So this is gigantic news for a number of different reasons, but I guess the first thing we should really talk about here is the casting change. For those of you who may be unaware, Lewis Dodgson was originally played by Cameron Thor in the first Jurassic Park. However, since then, that actor has had some pretty serious criminal charges leveled at him, and the role obviously had to be recast. Campbell Scott is now taking on the iconic character, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he plays this guy in the new movie. So, if you don't know jack about Jurassic Park, you're probably wondering, well, who really cares? Who is this Dodgson guy anyways, and what's so great about him? Well, for starters, he's actually the central villain of the original Jurassic Park novels that were written by Michael Crichton. Novels that new Jurassic World movies are following much more closely than anything done in the older sequels. In the books, Dodgson is not only a shady guy who bribes people in other companies, he's actually a straight-up murderer. He even tries to kill Sarah Harding on her way to Site B by throwing her overboard while they're making their way to the island. Michael Crichton wrote Lewis Dodgson as a very, and I do mean very, vicious and manipulative bastard. The guy goes out of his way to further his own agenda no matter what the cost might be. He's been involved in controversial human gene therapies, he exposed a bunch of Chilean farmers to rabies without them knowing about it, and his goal to steal InGen tech in Jurassic Park obviously led to the deaths of everyone in the first story. So with Campbell Scott coming on board to the new movie as this important character, and BioSyn finally being named in the movie canon, things are going to get really interesting in the new Jurassic World. I've talked about this before in the past, but I always felt like the name drop of BioSyn and the inclusion of that word being spoken by members of the original cast in the Return to Jurassic Park DLC for Evolution really made me believe this would be a thing for Dominion. And it looks like we were pretty much right for theorizing that. Now, as far as how they will utilize Dodgson in the next movie, that I don't really know what to think about, because there's obviously a lot that has happened since the last time we saw him, and the Jurassic Park sequels never really went into detail about his character at all. Originally, the plan was for him to return in some capacity since Crichton wrote him into The Lost World, and in fact, Steven Spielberg actually ran into Cameron Thor in an elevator back in 1995 and told him something like, you know, Dodgson is all over the second book, right? So don't be surprised if you get a call. Of course, that never happened, and instead Lost World threw out pretty much all of the book to tell its own story, but still the fact is, Dodgson was supposed to be a part of this series a really long time ago. They just never brought him back. And now, obviously, in Jurassic World Dominion, the guy has somehow become the CEO of his company, which means he's got a lot of assets and power to really screw with Owen, Claire, Alan, Ellie, and whoever else may be involved in this new story. I have heard rumors that the original cryo can that Dennis Nedry used to smuggle out the embryos might appear in the new film, which means that we could very well get a flashback scene in 1993 where someone goes back to retrieve it after the events of the first movie. Now obviously the contents of that can were only viable for 36 hours, so they'd be long dead by the time any of the sequels really took place. However, as late as 2003, Steven Spielberg actually wanted to go back to that can and use it for Jurassic Park 4. So if they do actually grab that old Barbasol can, while it's true that the embryos would all be dead, the genetic material inside of them could theoretically be reverse engineered into something that BioSyn could use. But hey, I have no idea if that's something they want to tackle. What's going to be really interesting from here on out, if they have BioSyn use that cryo can from the first movie, is whether or not the events surrounding that can from Telltale's Jurassic Park the game get brought up in the new movie. While it is true that the old video game has a lot of continuity errors that kind of screw up the timeline of Jurassic Park, they're actually pretty serious errors, by the way, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom actually did use the name of the volcano from that game for its own story. So they could very well pick and choose stuff from the game and try to adapt it into official canon if they'd like to. Anyways, guys, that is currently all that we know. Dodgson is officially confirmed and returning to Jurassic Park. That's some pretty important and exciting news that could go down in a lot of different ways. But hey, I want to hear what all of you guys think. What are your thoughts on the return of Jurassic Park's most cutthroat and serious villain? What do you think he will be like in Dominion? And what dinosaur do you think will have the honor of doing him in? I say Dilophosaurus. We just got a little tease that it could be in the new movie, and if it is, what better way for the head of BioSyn to go than by getting killed by the spitter, just like old Dennis Nedry did in '93. I'm getting too excited, but hey, that's just my own fan theory. Whatever your own thoughts and opinions happen to be, I'd love to hear them. In the comments down below, how the hell did he become the head of BioSyn? Now before I go, I'd like to thank all of my game wardens, as well as all of my InGen executives. I'd also like to thank all of my park workers and InGen hunters as well. Guys, it seriously means the world to me that you all continue to support what I do, and I never want you to ever forget that. Now, I'd like to thank you all for watching today's video, and hope that you all enjoyed the content. If you feel like I deserve it, I'd appreciate the like and hope that you'll consider subscribing if you're interested in hearing from me again. I'll see you all in the next video, guys, and as always, take it easy.